Okay, I introduce to you Mr. Timdow.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. Where do I lay this? Okay, hi. When I met Mr. Farrakani a couple weeks back, he came into my dealership and he had asked me, he wanted to know what kind of challenges we've had to overcome at Chevrolet or our particular dealership. And I had briefly told him that if you talk to any dealer, especially General Motors, they're going to tell you right now there's been three things going on that have been humongous challenges for us. First of all, bankrupt. When our company bankrupted, you know, people by nature pull away. They look at it as a flaw. We had to reboot our image. We had to make a lot of cutbacks. We became a smarter company. And you got to basically play it off like there's really nothing wrong. People will get nervous when they see that a company's going down like that, but basically it helped us rebuild, made us wiser. We watched our money a little differently, and of course, most importantly, always treat the customers better because you're the business. Number two, the economy. The economy itself is still on a cliff. It's right over the edge. No one knows. There's dramatic layoffs. You've got foreclosures that are massive. There's still so much uncertainty out there. And when people do that, they back away from high ticket prices or purchases, especially cars. That's the first thing that they do. And thirdly, the gas. The gas can't make up its mind. It's $3 a gallon, it's $4 a gallon, it's $3.50, is it going to be $4.50, is it going to be $5 or $6? No one knows. And because of that, there's an uncertainty there. When those things happen, there's still things that we can do as an organization to overcome it because those particular storms are temporary. They don't last. The company's going to rebuild and be healthier. The economy's going to get back on its feet. People will start to feel safe spending money. They'll have their positions. There'll be more employment. Gas prices will level off, and people will still continue to buy cars. But there's been one challenge that's been consistent. I've been in the business for 15 years, and it's been the same. It's a challenge that's before us. That's the largest challenge of all, and that is the perception that the public has about buying a car. It doesn't matter how many times they've done it, it's still something that they absolutely dread. They absolutely hate coming into a dealer. About 7 years ago, you're not going to be able to see this on the talking points, can you?
Yeah.
You can't see this. But anyways, that's okay. What happened was I found an article. And this article spoke about car salesmen, that we were last in the ethics survey. They talked to over 1,000 adults and asked them, wonder why, right? They sat there and wanted to know about ethics, and they came from a list of different occupations, and we were the worst. We're below politicians, which I could not absolutely believe. Absolutely the worst ever. Illinois politicians at that were where I live. I couldn't believe it. We were at the bottom of the bottom. And I thought, oh my gosh, who are they interviewing? Because when I looked at myself, particularly me, I didn't feel that way about me. When I looked at what I did for a living and I knew how I treated people, that wasn't me. But I'm thinking, where did they come from with this? By the way, number one, nurses, number one. 5 were doctors. You guys were above clergy. That's scary. That's scary. Scary, scary, scary. So what had happened was I wanted to know where people were coming from. So what I did was, who are these people? What's this list? Where did they get it? So I decided to go out on my own. I was a manager by now. I've been in the business for 15 years. I was a salesman for roughly 6 or 7, and I got promoted into management at a Pontiac dealer back in Illinois. And I've been with the Anderson family for the last 7 years. And what had happened was I decided to go out and about, and I wanted to interview people myself. I wanted to find out what you really thought. So I dressed down, I was in jeans and a t-shirt, and I went around to different places like the bookstores, and I went to Starbucks, and I went to the malls, and anywhere there were people that looked like they were old enough to purchase a car. So I walked up to them and I said, excuse me, miss, can I ask you a question? I don't mean to interrupt you, I'm doing a little survey. Have you ever purchased a car at a dealer before? Yes. Well, when you see that car salesman walking up to you for the first time, what's the first word that goes through your head? And they're like, honestly? Yeah, honest. Can you pull it up? We're tenacious cutthroats. We are conniving, hard-headed scammers. We're shysters and wolves. We are, can you see that? Oh, we are aggressive predators. We're abusers. We're pushy and unreliable. We're dishonest. We're untrustworthy, phony, desperate, insincere, persistent, deceptive, stereotypical, sleazy, smoozing, gabby, boring, advantageous hustlers. We are liars and cynicists and actors and criticizers. We are judgmental and awful cheating thieves. We're high pressure and traumatic. We cause trauma. We are arrogant, rude, hypocritical. We are impatient. We are annoying. We smell like cigarettes. We are bothersome. We have a poor reputation. We're fearful, slick, and tacky. We are manipulative, scheming, uninformed. We are not knowledgeable. We are unfair a-holes. We are no effing good. We are bloodsuckers and lowlifes. Almost done, thank God. We are untruthful, greedy, cocky sleazeballs. We are sleazebags, sweet talkers, rip-off artists, slimeballs, swindlers, and con artists. Yeah, you can imagine what my self-esteem felt like, right? When I was done talking to these people, I was like, I needed a therapist. Is there one here? Because I needed it real bad. Is there one there? It was awful. And I sat there and I thought about it a second, and once they found out what I did, they went, oh my God, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. But see, I wanted to know what they thought. Because had they known what I really truly did, they would have never told me this list. And in order for us to improve and to change the perception, which was something I was told as a young salesperson in the business that would never make a difference. When I wanted to be an honest car dealer as a salesman, and I wanted to go that extra mile, I was told back then, sadly, by my own bosses that it would never make a difference. It's never going to change anything. Well, Henry Ford said, if you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. And I just continued. I can't believe that people would feel this way. I mean, it's supposed to be a wonderful experience. It's supposed to be a healthy experience. It's supposed to be fun. But it's not, sadly. A lot of it is reputation. So then I sat back a second, and I asked them, I go, well, what would you like us to be? Tell me what you want. You pull it up? If not, I'll read it to you, because those of you can't see. They want us to be trustworthy and honest, genuine and helpful, patient. They don't want us to be smothering. They want us to have a sense of humor and be warm and service-orientated and be reliable. They want us to be considerate and understanding. They want us to be laid back and not too aggressive, not too pushy. They want us to be hands-off and friendly, direction-orientated. They want us to be straightforward and be consistent. Be a good listener. Be respectful. One guy said, have an opinion. I thought it was interesting. I go, what do you mean by that? And he goes, well, have a backbone. Don't agree with me to make a sale. Just tell me what you think, which I like that, his point. Be educated and reserved. Be casual and knowledgeable. Be well-rounded. Know your service and products. Be nice and smiling and careful and cheerful. Cheerful. Well-dressed, clean-cut. Be professional in appearance. Be concerned for our needs, open-minded and personal. And here's the funny thing. How do you know if somebody's trustworthy? How do you know? In 3 hours? You don't. Or how do you know if they're truly concerned for your needs? You have no idea. They can come across like they're concerned for your needs. You don't really know. It all is inside of here. And the funny thing about the car business is we've had people come in and they buy cars and they'll just pay and they'll look at us and go, my gosh, best deal I've ever had. I can't wait to tell everybody in the world about you. And then we have customers who will lose $1,000 on a car and they'll look at me and go, I know you screwed me. I know you ripped me off. I hate you. And it's like, but the key is you got to be able to look in the mirror. You got to look at yourself and you got to be true and sincere, because you know what? To that particular person, perception is reality. We can't change that perception right then and there. So I had a meeting with my staff and I asked them, before I read this list of what everybody thought, which, by the way, they laughed. They couldn't believe it. But when I asked them, I said, how many of you are honest people? And they all raised their hand. I go, I agree, because if you weren't, you wouldn't work here. And how many of you are good family people? You're concerned for people. You're a good neighbor, good church people. You're friendly. They all raised their hand. I go, I agree, or you wouldn't be here. But let me tell you what your customers think about you. And the sad part about all that is that's a reputation that's well warranted. I mean, first of all, the way that they could do basically whatever they wanted for years and years and years. The movies don't paint a good picture with movies like Used Cars or Suckers or any of the other things, make us look terrible. But the goal was still change the perception, change that stigma. And I always tell them that, something, if you when a person comes in, can you imagine for a second with that kind of a list of things? I want you to imagine being single. You're a single guy, single girl, you're going to date somebody, and they think that all guys or all girls are that list of awful things. That relationship's got zero chance, none. You could be the most greatest gentleman in the world. You could open the door, bring flowers, bring candy, and they're going to think something rotten about you because there's some cynical motive there. That's a hard nut to crack. That's a hard wall to climb. So how do you do it? You be sincere, and you don't take it personal. And you make sure that you're there to serve the client, period, the end. Well, what if they're mean? Well, then they're mean. They're mean because they come in with an attitude and approach. It should be a fun purchase, and it's not. They come in with their fist raised. You don't come at them like this, because when they do this, this is dysfunction. I tell them, you know what you do? You turn the other cheek. You open up. And now the upper hand is yours. You can't ever lose when you turn the other cheek. You go that extra mile. But now finally, this list that I didn't put up because there's too many words on it, this explains why your experiences are as bad as they are. Before I read it, I want to ask, just play with me for just 1 second here. How many of you honestly dread buying a car? Honestly. Everybody? Almost? How many of you have had a bad experience yourselves? How many of you have bought a car and never ever heard from your salesman ever again? Same amount of people every time. You know why? Because this is the list they use. You walk in and you have your list. Low life lion scum. That's what they think, right? But this is their list. This is the car dealer list. In fact, it was called the customer-related terminology, if you can believe this, briefly, but I'm going to read you. And I don't care if you bought a Honda, a Nissan, Daewoo, GM, a Rolls Royce, a Mercedes, I don't care what you got. Every dealer knows this list, every single one. And the problem is, the biggest problem at all, is that the people that were selling the cars were not looking at you from an empathetic standpoint. They weren't looking at you as human beings. It was basically, you're there to suit a need for me, and that's it. Got what I wanted, I'm done with you, goodbye. When you walked into a dealer and you had credit challenges, dealers would refer to you as bums or rats. That's what they would think. I don't care where you buy it, don't care where you go, I don't care what state in the union you look at, they'd think that thought. This is from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and even into the 2000s. If a person would waste 4 hours of a salesman's time, they would call him a stroke. Oh, I just got stroke. Freaking stroke was here. Well, out he goes. They get a person that doesn't give them any profit, beats them down to nothing, where they're literally given a pint of their blood, and the guy goes, oh, he's a mooch. We got a big mooch out here. That's what they would call a mooch. A maven. Maven, one of my favorite. The maven would be, say this gentleman here is coming to buy a car, and she's with him. And we're presenting the numbers back then. And that person would be sitting next to the buyer going, oh, that's an awful deal. Let's leave. This place is terrible. I hate this. I know someone who knows a better deal. They're called mavens. That's what they would call them. Someone that would kink the deal. And the saddest part of all is that they're labeling people. It's a label, which is absolutely wrong. It's absolutely wrong. So I got a better idea. Because you know something? When I worked at those dealers back then as a salesman, and they made fun of people with challenge credit, I had challenge credit. Because I made some poor choices in the 80s. I did. I had to choose, my wife's sitting here, but I had to choose between ladies' night and paying my bills. And ladies' night won. Sorry. Regularly. And when I got old enough to realize and mature enough to understand the importance of that, when I went to buy a car, I remembered a dealer making fun of my credit right in front of me. And I'll be honest, I felt very naked. I felt very humiliated. I wanted to blame other people. I was so embarrassed. I did it myself. It was self-inflicted, but my God, no way. Right in front of me. And you know something? Here's the perspective that needs to be taken. I would train my dealerships. Instead of calling someone a bum or a rat because they haven't paid their credit on time, why don't you give them the benefit of the doubt? And understand that maybe somebody got sick in their family and medical bills cripple them. You guys don't understand medical bills. Or maybe Maybe they had a divorce they didn't ask for. Someone ran off on them or somebody died. Or maybe they lost their job unfairly and they couldn't recover. And you know what? Instead of looking down on these people, why don't you bend down to pick them up? Why don't we believe the best about them? Instead of, you can continue to hold their head under water or you can lift them up. Which do you want to do? What do you want? How do you want to be treated yourself? That's the key. Because you got to look at how you would like it. Would that be you? Would it be okay? Because if it isn't, then you need to change it. That's what I tell them. Instead of calling somebody a stroke for wasting 3 hours of your time, blame yourself. Because you're the professional, not them. They're walking in looking for a car. They're scared. They don't know what to do. And it's your responsibility to find out what their need is. It's your responsibility to not waste their time. We need them. You understand? That's the most important thing. We need you. Every business needs you. It doesn't matter what it is. So when we look at our clients and you disrespect them like they don't matter, they can go somewhere else. That's the hardest thing about it. They're human beings and they're people. Look at them. And care. That's the kicker. You got to care. You call somebody a mooch. Why are they a mooch? How come? They gave you no profit? Maybe you didn't build enough value. If someone's willing to go see the Cubs play, and you're going to spend $50, $60 for a ticket to see a below average product that you know is going to break your heart, right? They're going to put you right in the hospital, where I've almost been a number of times, and you pay $50 to park, and you pay how much for beer and food, and you go all there and you pay all that money for the substandard product, right? Where's the value? There's none, but I still do it regularly. But how about understanding this? How about understanding that somebody making a bad financial decision could cripple their family? It could ruin their family. And yet you're going to sit there and you're going to complain that they're mooches because of why? Because you built no value? Because they didn't see it there? And you're going to turn around and then you're going to say that about them? They need to watch their nickels and dimes more than ever before. It's more important now than ever. Because one bad decision financially can turn that person's entire life upside down. You build the value, they'll feel confident. They may not buy it, but they'll feel confident. And maybe when they feel more comfortable, they will. And you know something? Look at the way dealers, back then, we're changing that image, almost finished. You bring in your car, and they call it a beater, a junker, clunker, excuse the word, shitbox. They sit there and they say that about people's cars behind their back then. Maybe that's all they can afford. Maybe that's all they got. Right? Maybe it was an heirloom. Maybe it was handed down from a wife who passed away or a father, like my dad did. And and when you look at our businesses, our car dealers used to be called whorehouses and revolving doors and ghost towns and slaughterhouses. Who wants to work there? I don't, and I'm not going to. But can you believe the dysfunctional image that people would have forever of a car dealer? And you wonder why, for years, you felt the way you did going into one? There you go. And I don't care where I go. I can walk right down to the local dealer and read them this list, and they know exactly what it is. And they'll laugh. Did you know when they were negotiating back then, did you know, let's say they go here, hey, mister, let's see, I'm at 10,000, you're at 9,000. Look, why don't you split it with me? Give me 9,800. And you go, that ain't 50-50, I want 9,500. And then they'd go, oh, yeah, it is. You know what that's called? That's called an Indian split because the Indians got screwed. That's what that would be called. Can you believe the mass dysfunction inside of a facility like that? And it was rampant, and it was countrywide. So those of you, when you go into dealers, you understand. So how do you change something like that? You got to dare to do it. Because the minute you stand for something that's right, in an area where something's been so wrong for so long, you're going to stand out like a sore thumb. When you don't go with the flow, and you're willing to kick up some dust, you stir the pot, you're going to cause waves. But you know what I found? Those dealers I used to work at are gone. They're no longer there. And our store is the #1 store in the state. Our customer satisfaction records are off the charts. Gee, and when people at GM go, God, what'd you do different? Oh, let me think. We treated people like people? Wow. And that's not how they're not operating as a corporation, but the numbers were so big, so fast, so dramatic, they wanted to know. Now there's a big key to that. The key to that is, like in my particular instance, I work with a family that's honest. I work with a family that cares. And I'm not here to promote my dealer. That's not why we're here. But I'm telling you something. When you have a person that believes in a vision and they're willing to all go in the same direction and you're rowing together, man, there's nowhere you can't go. Because if you're doing it alone and you're rowing by yourself in a boat, what does the boat do? It goes a big circle, doesn't it? It doesn't go anywhere. The way you get success in my business, and you maintain that success, is by staying human and treating people with respect. And I know deep down there's still people right out here right now going, yeah, he's a car dealer, listen to him. He's trying to sell us a car. I understand. That comes with the territory. We don't take that personal. I understand. Somebody asked Joe DiMaggio when he used to play, they said, Joe, why do you always hustle? You never dog it, ever, not once. And he said, somebody might be seeing me play for the very first time and I don't want to disappoint him. It wasn't about endorsements or more money or more fame. It was about pleasing the people that were there, that spent their hard-earned money watching him play. And whether he got 4 hits or no hits, he did his best. And that was what you're going to do. Part of being successful is you got to be realistic. We're not going to make every sale. And that's okay. We're not going to sell 100%. But we can still give you 100%. We can still, because we're going to rely on our competitors to never call you. Because guess what? They won't. They're not going to know who you are. And I don't mean that respectfully to badmouth other people. I'm just saying that is usually the whole. I don't know how long I've been, but in finishing, I'm a big believer that you got to look right in the mirror and you got to like what you see. And I'm going to say a poem. I hope you don't find it strange, but I think it speaks important. And it says, when you get what you want in your struggle for self and the world makes you king for the day, just go to the mirror and look at yourself and see what that man has to say. For it's not your husband or brother or wife upon whose judgment you must pass. The person whose verdict counts most in your life is the man looking back in the glass. You're the person to please, never mind all the rest, because you're with yourself clear to your end. And you've passed the most dangerous and difficult test if the man in the glass is your friend. For you can fool the whole world on the pathway of life and get pats on your back as you pass. But your final reward will be heartache and tears if you cheated the man in the glass. And what I get out of that is when I look at myself in the mirror, like what I see, and I don't mean from an arrogant standpoint, like what I see, be respectful of myself and respectful of others. And if you're willing to do that in any business, you treat people with that respect, you're going to go to a height you won't believe. You won't believe it. That's it. Thank you.